Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Gaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we will be talking about the NFL's Week 3, talking about the action there and the Chiefs finally getting their first win of the season against the New York Giants. We'll talk about the end of the Kansas City Royals playoff chances, which officially ended as of about 30 minutes ago, I think, somewhere in there, as we're recording this episode. And we'll talk a little bit about a preview for next week's NFL series and then some new bets of the week, our locks of the week section. We'll start today. We tend to start during our episodes during this time of the year with the Kansas City Chiefs game of the last week. They did finally get their first win of the season, first win ever at the New York Giants. There were some promising things that we saw probably in the game. There's some, still maybe kinks that aren't quite right with the Chiefs. But what are your overall impressions of the game? Like, are you satisfied with the game? Now you're all on the Chiefs bandwagon. They're going to win out and win the Super Bowl, or somewhere in the middle there.
Um, I guess I'm still in the middle. I thought the Chiefs defense played really well. They held the Giants down. Like the Giants, you don't think of them as having a great offense, but they had a great offensive day. Previous week against Dallas, Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards, and Malik Neighbors had a huge day, and Neighbors and the other wide receivers. For the Giants were basically absent the entire game. They were, I guess, blanketed the whole time and just it was just dink and dunk passes to the running backs and tight ends uh, for Wilson. And Wilson, I guess, was they played against Wilson so well that Wilson was knocked out for the season, perhaps, because now it's apparent that Jackson Dart is going to start their next game against the Chargers when the Chargers come into town next Sunday. Um, so the Chiefs played. Yeah, I thought the defense played really well. They did allow one touchdown and they blocked an extra point. I guess that's a special teams, but um,
Yeah,
they did allow one touchdown, one field goal. Um,
forced a couple turnovers.
Forced some turnover, two interceptions. Uh, the offense sputtered in the first half, although it was kind of Butker again having, they should have had four more points probably on the board than they had. So that was, Butker is inconsistent. Again, that's more special teams than offense, but the offense could have scored, 26-9 might have looked better than 22-9. Um,
Right.
but yeah, the offense played okay in the second half. They had two touchdowns. And Mahomes looked good. He didn't have to scramble quite as much. He made some big throws down the field. Couple of them, one of them turned into a big pass interference penalty. One of them,
Yeah.
one was a good play that was almost a touchdown to Tyquon Thornton. That was a touchdown almost before that. The play before that when Thornton couldn't secure the ball quite enough when he slid onto the ground. So, but then Thornton made up for it. He had another touchdown catch later. So,
Well, like the next play made a maybe an even more difficult catch around a defensive player,
yeah,
almost on the exact spot of the field
yeah, he didn't
where the line
slide into
would
the
have
end
been.
zone though. Yeah, yeah, he got on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Thornton's been kind of a revelation, I guess, that seems like Mahomes trusts him and he gets open enough down the field that he's a decent deep threat. Maybe with
Yeah.
Worthy when he comes back, Thornton and Worthy together could be a pretty good deep tandem. I was a little
Sounds
surprised.
promising.
Yeah, and still without Rice and Worthy, the passing game is pretty weak seeming, and the running game is also fairly weak. I don't think either Hunt or Pacheco have elite RB1 level skills at this point in their careers. Um,
Well, they're not going to be just a, pound the ball grind type of offense though. So I mean, they should always, use the run sort of to just as a surprise move after passing consistently. Don't you
yeah,
think?
Yeah, I think they
So
should throw more. Kelsey didn't get into the
I
game
mean,
too
even if
much.
they had an RB1 type, I don't think you did want to really use them that way, though, would they?
Well, maybe you would in certain situations of kind of a like maybe you're going to play the Ravens next week, and the Ravens' run defense is pretty suspect,
Yeah.
as they proved against Detroit. Detroit ran all over Baltimore, 220 something yards, and they had those big 295 plus yard drives on them, and a lot of that was done through the running game. So, um,
But it was like they have two running backs. One of them ran all over the place. Like uh, David Montgomery had
yeah,
like what a 70-yard run and
yeah.
well, like maybe another 70 yards total. And his other run, the Gibbs didn't really have anything. He was like 3 yards a carry, something like that, which is
Yeah, Gibbs still wasn't as good as Montgomery was against.
yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe that bodes well for somebody like Kareem Hunt, who's more of a Montgomery kind of runner uh,
yeah.
in the next week. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, the Chiefs. I don't know. It still seems like their offense is. I don't know. It turned something on in the second half, but then they played quite a bit better. But still, it seems like they should be scoring more points than they are. And I don't know if it's a Nagy thing or if it's just that the Chiefs' offense is stale or if Mahomes is off still. But he makes some still really good throws. It seems like the touchdown throw to Thornton was a bullet in the right spot. He made some
Hmm.
really other good throws too. Mahomes did, I think, this week. So I don't think it's Mahomes. I think it's just the offense and maybe the playmakers around him aren't very good. Um, and maybe he still doesn't quite trust the offensive line. Uh, we had Jawan Taylor making a couple more, at least one more costly gaffe that hurt a drive. Um, I don't think Mahomes was he sacked. I don't think he was. I'm not sure if he was sacked at all. Uh,
I don't remember him being sacked. He may have been taken down. He got hit. He took a couple of hits, but he didn't really get. He got sacked twice in the
got
game.
sacked twice. I think maybe both in the first half.
It's not
Um,
so easy to find that without looking at every play.
yes, yeah, it looks like there are two sacks for the
23
Giants.
yards.
Yeah, two sacks for 23 yards. Only two sacks for the Chiefs as well, though. Even though they played much better against Wilson, they only got two sacks on him. And one was Karlaftis, right? And then I guess was the other one Jones?
Uh,
Yeah, Chris Jones got the other one. That was his only tackle, Chris Jones's sack.
yeah, yep, Karlaftis and Jones. Yeah,
But they didn't. I guess they did. Maybe they were just playing off the right way. I don't know. It seems like the Chiefs looked a lot better defensively, but I guess they're playing a team that was not nearly as good as the two teams that they played the previous weeks. But
yeah,
I don't. And you always wonder, are the Chiefs trying? How much are the Chiefs trying to show their opponents? Are they just simply trying to make their way into the playoffs and then turn it on in the playoffs like they've done so many times in the past, or do they simply not have it anymore?
yeah. I mean, this was one of the first games that we've seen in quite a while where they haven't, needed to hold on for a win. Like they did have a two-score lead and managed to hold it, but uh, part of that may have been Russell Wilson's odd final series where he's just throwing balls well out of the end zone. You think though that last series is like what is going to cost Wilson his starting job next week?
I
If
don't know.
that,
I think I think it's somewhat
yeah,
maybe, but I think it's also desperation on Dable's part. At this
yeah,
point, save his job and hope that although you would think maybe you wouldn't pick the Chargers to be uh, Dart's first start. You might have, I think, but you don't want to wait too long either. So I guess they did that.
yeah.
Play New Orleans at some point in the next week 5 or 6. So you think maybe that would be a good game to start Dart, but um,
They had him come into it for a couple of plays again in the last several weeks, I guess, but not.
yeah,
He hasn't really thrown any passes, I don't think.
Yeah, so it's a weird situation. I'm a
Yeah.
little surprised the way they're dealing with it, but that's I'm sure it's somewhat management decision, but also probably Dable being a little bit desperate as well at this point. But the Giants, who knows? They could have. I could see them upsetting the Chargers. The Chargers are traveling all the way across the country. It's a noon start, so a 10 a.m. start the for the Chargers, essentially.
Yes.
Um, and they're coming off a hard-fought game against the Broncos. We'll get to that in a second. But one thing that we did learn is that you made the right bet in the Chiefs Giants game. You picked, I believe, the Chiefs on the spread. The Chiefs were favored by 5.5 points, and they won by 13 points. So that was your victory of in our locks of the week this week.
Yeah, it broke an over three stretch from the week before, so that was nice to have that there, but it didn't completely turn around my season for the Ducks because I did not win the other team. So, but still good to get a win there to break the losing streak for
Yeah,
me and for the Chiefs. Probably more importantly, nah, I
yeah.
don't really.
You would have been you
More
were 0
importantly, the Chiefs gonna
yeah, you're at least 0 and 5 in a row, right? Because you missed your other two. You didn't make a bet on the Monday night game,
win. No,
so you would have lost your other two earlier in the week. So
in chronological order,
chronologically, it would have been at least at 0 and
when the
5.
games were played,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I think for in the order that I picked them last week, though, the Chiefs were the first pick.
They were the first pick in order, I suppose. Yeah,
But chronologically, the game happened third. So
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
so yes, it would have been five straight losses in the order the games were played.
At least it could have maybe been up to 7, depending on how. I don't remember how week one, what the order of your
Oh
week
yeah,
win and loss uh, were.
yeah. I have to go back and look to see what times those games were played. I can look at that. Well, maybe you want to talk about uh, your first pick of the week?
Okay, well, my first pick. Wait, do you want? Should I go chronologically, or should I go the order that I picked the games?
Uh, maybe you want to get your loss out of the way, and then
I'll get my
well,
loss
we
out of
can
the
at
way.
least end on a win then between the two of us.
Okay. So my lone I was 2 and 1 on the week, so that was good. My lone loss was the Miami Buffalo Thursday night game. That game ended up 31-21, so 52 total points were scored in that game. I had Miami Buffalo under 49 and a half, so I was that last field goal cost me in Buffalo. Again, I think it came about because Tua threw an interception late, and then the Bills scored a field goal at the end to cover the spread and to win by, or they didn't cover the spread, but to win by 10, and then take the over on that field goal by is Matt Prater. He's the kicker now for Buffalo, I think, um, with the current guys injured, but yeah, so it was pretty close, so 50, 52, 49 and a half. So it was one field goal that did it. So I feel all right about it. I was a little surprised that the Dolphins scored as many points as they did. I thought the Dolphins would score somewhere between maybe 10 to 14 points maximum, not 3 touchdowns and 3 extra points. So the Dolphins kind of did it in for me. It wasn't the Bills. I thought they'd score about that many points, but I didn't think I thought it'd be 31-10 rather than 31-21. The Dolphins surprised me just a little bit, and so that's what made gave me my lone loss of the week.
Yeah, Miami's offense had not looked good early in the season, so it was a little surprising that they were able to put up some points or as many points as they did anyway, right?
Yeah,
It is Prater that is the figure for.
yeah, former longtime Denver kickers. He's been around a lot.
Yeah. So how late in the game was it that the over was tripped? Was it super, super late. Yes.
It was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 22 seconds to go, Mike.
22 seconds to go in the fourth quarter that made field goal. Yeah. That basically then that yeah, put it up two scores.
Yeah, because that would have been they would have been at 48,
Yeah.
a point and a half under, and ended up point and a half over instead. Yeah, see. So that's an unfortunate beat there. There were a couple really bizarre late
Oh
either
wait,
bad beats
yeah.
or huge ones,
Oh wait, yeah,
right?
the field yeah. Yeah, it was only
Well, it was actually tied
yeah, it was
almost midway into the fourth.
mhm.
So
Yeah. And it was a 48-yard field goal too, so it wasn't a gimme field goal that they
yeah,
made. So, if it had been Harrison Butker kicking, maybe they would have missed it and uh,
kept the under. Yes.
kept the under. But
Or would the Chiefs would have even gone for it? Would they even try to run a play or something instead?
they would have, I think they would have wanted somehow
Or
to
just would punted it,
uh,
give them a much longer field.
maybe 48 yards, third and seven, 2 yards. It was fourth and five, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it was kind of in the middle. They would have probably kicked it. But
maybe you just punt it though, right? So then you don't give them any field
yeah.
with a 7 point lead. I think the Chiefs may have just punished
I
or
could have.
tried to run a really slow play that gets them a couple of yards or something, right? To eat
Yeah.
clock.
Yeah. I don't know what the Chiefs arg home stretch, the end of the gentlemanly home stretch would have done at the
No.
end of the game. Uh, well, they wouldn't
So
have
what is
cut.
that? What does that giant menu say to do?
Yeah, the IHOP menu, the Waffle House menu. It's more of a Waffle House look, I think.
It is, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was just slightly over instead of my under. How about your second? You want to do your second? It's your first loss of the week. Your second pick of the week.
Okay. First loss. Well, my other two games were ones that I was like really confident in the picks themselves. Like it was teams that had played pretty well in week two against pretty fairly weak opponents in week three. So the first of those, I had Houston at plus 1.5 at Jacksonville, and Houston did not play super well in this game. Uh,
No.
they They ended up, yeah. So they were 1.5 point underdogs, but on the road, I still thought they had a they were. I thought they would just win. That's why I took the being plus 1.5. It's like, well, they could still lose by a point and still
Mhm.
manage to take the bet anyway. But they ended up losing 17-10 to Jacksonville. So yeah, so they did not win. They didn't cover. No,
Yeah, I thought probably Houston was due to win as well. I didn't think they'd be 0-3 at this point, but maybe Houston's just not very good this year. Um, and Jacksonville's 2-1. They're looking decent at this point of the year. But yeah, I thought again it. Yeah, I get Jacksonville's. You don't think of them as having much of a home field advantage. Um,
yeah,
Something
I mean
was
their
wrong
wins
fine, but
weren't that great, and their loss was to the Bengals without Burrow too, right? So it was
yeah, they scored a lot of points, but they didn't score very many points against Houston. It was a low
yeah,
scoring game. That should have been that was an easy under. Um, but yeah, it
yeah,
was a tough loss for the Texans. Didn't look yeah. Um, I had another 7 point game as my second pick. That was also a fairly low scoring game, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots. That game turned out 21-14 Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won uh, by 7. I didn't pick them on the money. I did pick them on the spread and the money line, I believe, as well. But I also, then more importantly, I picked the over under. The over under was 44 and a half, and it finished at 35, so comfortably under. It would have taken another touchdown and field goal to go over. So, um, Yeah, I thought that would be a fairly low scoring game, and it turned out to be. Um, and yeah, again, I don't think New England's very good, so I'm not sure why New England is. I think betting against New England. I didn't bet against New England uh, this week, but both times I bet against New England so far this year have turned out in my favor. So that's something in my perhaps in my pocket going forward. But yeah, um, yeah. So I feel good about that game. 21-14 Pittsburgh. Probably not the most exciting or wonderful game to watch. I didn't really watch any of it, but yeah, I feel good about that win.
And you've gotten half your wins of the season have come. Well, we'll talk about that actually because you haven't finished this one yet, so we'll hold off on that. I was going to say something about your wins, but yeah,
Should we go to
it's it,
what do you want to end on? You want to end on a win, so go to your go to
we
your second loss.
Well, so then I'll throw my worst game out here for my final pick of this week. Anyway, was picking against the Carolina Panthers with the Atlanta Falcons at -4.5. That game went completely bizarro from what my expectation was in that one. I thought Atlanta would win comfortably. Uh, Carolina ended up winning comfortably, 30-0 in the game. I don't know. I have no idea where Atlanta went in this one, so I don't really know what to say about that one. That's just a surprise. Atlanta played a really close game the week before against Tampa, like losing on a very late touchdown. They probably, they could have won that game, and then they come out and were completely flat against Carolina. So, uh, yeah, week to week, it doesn't really necessarily matter what you did the week before. Obviously,
No,
we've talked about this before, but yeah, some of those things that you kind of expect. You think you know how the game's going to go, and it goes the complete opposite direction. And this was one of those. So
yeah,
not good.
one of those things where I was if I re-listened a little bit to the VSIN network, the Vegas Sports Information Network or whatever it's called. It's on my satellite radio again. It has been had been off for a couple of years, but I rediscovered it. Where they said that the real pro bettors they make power ratings for every team, and then they compare how many points the spread is to what their points on the power ratings are. So they adjust them week to week, but they I guess look a little bit maybe they don't pay as much attention to how they played last week versus how they played this week. It's more of a season long thing, and maybe that's the way to go forward. I have made power ratings in the past at the beginning of the seasons, but I didn't make them for this year, and I
Hmm.
haven't. But I don't know how if I recalibrated my power ratings this currently how well they do, but at least I was 2-1 going in on this week because I ended up picking just barely a team that covered, and that was the Chargers Chargers versus Denver at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. When we made the bet, the Chargers were favored by 2.5. That line eventually went up to 3, but when we placed it, it was 2.5, and the Chargers won by 3. So on the big board, it was a push. They won 23-20, but in on our locks of the week, the -2.5 ended up cashing. So I felt pretty good about that. So I was 2-1 in the week. The Chargers ended up kicking a last second field goal from Dicker, the kicker. Um, and they won 23-20 over the Bo Nix led Denver Broncos. Perhaps it seems like Bo Nix is coming back to earth this season, which I don't think either of us can be happier about. Uh, but it seems like we don't want the Chargers to run away with the division early though either. So I'm a little worried about them because especially because the Chargers play the Giants and the Chiefs have to play the Ravens next week. So you hope that the Chiefs don't fall in a 1-3 hole and have the Chargers be 4-0. You would like it to be a two. If the Chiefs were 2-2 and the Chargers were 3-1. You'd like that a lot better for the Chiefs' chances of taking the division. There's a lot I think a lot riding on this next week's game for the division anyway for the Chiefs. Um, even if it doesn't really matter so much for the playoffs. I think the Chiefs will still make the playoffs even if they go 1-3. But the division, might be getting a little bit out of reach if the Chargers are, can have that four-game head start.
Yeah. I can see that. Well, yeah, this was your third week in a row that you bet in your lots on division games even. And two of them you got wins on betting on the Chargers now.
Yeah, I've done really well betting on the
Two, three.
Chargers. I should have bet the Chargers in week one, and then I'd be 3-0.
Yes. Yeah.
But I bet the Chiefs week one. They failed me, but yeah, most of my uh one, two, three of my wins out of my four. I'm 4-5. Three of my wins have come from AFC West uh teams. So maybe I
Right.
have a good grasp of the AFC West in there. Uh,
This week will be the first week you can't bet on an AFC West divisional matchup. I think so. This will be the first time there won't be a West versus West
no, yeah.
game on the slate. So yeah, you can't, Mike.
Well, I did.
It doesn't mean you won't
I
bet
did bet on an
on
AFC West team.
the AFC West
Yeah.
team. So it's hard to tell if you've been betting on AFC West teams or betting against AFC West teams too in some way.
I suppose so. I've been betting against certain AFC West teams. I've been betting for the Chargers
Yeah.
and for the Raiders a little bit. But when the Chargers played the Raiders, I bet on the Chargers. Um,
Yeah, you bet for and against the Raiders. You bet for and against the Chargers.
yeah, so I'm going back to the Raiders as a preview for next week. But any other
Yeah.
games this week you want to talk about? We talked a little bit about the Chiefs playing the Ravens next week, but the Ravens, like the Chiefs, now are 1-2. And similarly, they Ravens have lost to two good teams. They've lost to the Bills. They've lost to the Lions. The Chiefs have lost to two good teams. They lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Eagles, but they've beaten a bad team. The Ravens beat the Browns, although the Browns this week beat Green Bay. Surprisingly, maybe that was maybe the most surprising result of the week. Although actually think the Carolina shutout of Atlanta was the most surprising because the way not only the win but the way they won 30-0. Um,
Yeah.
that was the most surprising game to me.
Fully unexpected.
But yeah, the Chiefs beat the Giants, a not so great team as well. So both of those teams are looking. I think. Do you think? Yeah. So are looking like they really need that game. Well, I guess we'll talk about it in a little bit when we talk about next week's games. But um, do you think? So with Green Bay's loss and the Lions win, does that change? And I guess the Eagles had a interesting win as well last week against the
Especially for the betters.
yeah, for the betters. It covered at the end. The blocked field goal return for a touchdown covered the spread for Philadelphia. They were going to lose perhaps the game as well on that block. They won on the money line and they won on the spread because of the block kick touchdown. That was their second field goal block in a row. There were actually, I think, four blocked field goals in the fourth quarter of last week's early games. The Jets blocked one against Tampa. It looked like they might win that game, but then they lost anyway. Uh, and the Browns blocked a field goal attempt from the Packers, and they ended up winning that game. So, but yeah, it was an interesting, wild week. Especially those early games were pretty wild.
Well, in Kansas City, if you were just watching the broadcast TV, so it was the Eagles block happened, and then as soon as that game was over, which was essentially on that play, they transferred to the Jets game, and then almost immediately that other block
Hmm.
happened, like right then too. So like it was a pretty crazy sequence of TV viewing. It's, getting bonus coverage of an extra game that hasn't quite finished yet, and seeing essentially the same play happen. That's pretty nuts. I mean, that's not a very common play, and see it happen twice in just a few
No.
minutes. Pretty pretty insane.
And the Chiefs blocked an extra point as well, so there were some blocks, a lot of kicks that were blocked.
Yeah,
Do you?
I think what 5 or 6 block kicks in the week, something like that.
Yeah,
It seems
yeah.
like a crazy ad.
So we have the standings right now. We have five 3-0 teams.
Hmm.
Three of them are in the NFC. Two are in the AFC. The Chargers and the Bill. Wait, six 3-0 teams. The Chargers, the Colts, and the Bills. Uh,
Hmm.
do you think which of those 3-0 teams has looked the most impressive to you so far, and which is the?
Well, the Colts are by far the most surprising of them. I don't know. I probably wouldn't say they've looked the best, although they have put up a lot of points. But the Chargers really having already won 3 division games puts them in a great position for the season. That's um, you know sort of an oddity of the schedule, even, right? To have already had 3 division games under their belt at this point already is nuts. So, I mean, the Bills I don't think are all that surprising that they're 3-0. They played some decent teams, but you kind of expect them to play well, especially when everyone's healthy. But yeah, the Chargers are probably in the best position of the three. Is that what you would guess? What you would say too, or you have a different
Well,
way to look at this?
it's interesting that if you look at point differential, the Colts are plus 47 on their three
Yeah.
games, more than even the Bills are in their three
Hmm.
games, more than the Chargers. Chargers played three pretty close games. I guess the game against the Raiders wasn't super close. It was 20-9, I think. But so if you look at point differential, it seems like, well, maybe the Chargers are the most fraudulent. But if you look at the point differential for the NFC teams, it's even closer because the 3-0 teams, the Eagles, the Bucks, and the 49ers, it would which one of those three teams has won their games by the most points? If you had to guess.
It's not Tampa because they've won like all their games by like inside of a field goal, I think. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, maybe the Eagles, and maybe that block field goal maybe is the
Yeah,
difference.
basically that block field goal is the difference. The Eagles are plus 14 on the because they beat the Chiefs by 3. I guess they beat the Cowboys by 4, and then
Mm.
they beat the Rams by 7. So that's their 14. But yeah, the 49ers have won their three games by a collective 10 points. So those margins are pretty close. It seemed to be Chiefs-esque. And the Chiefs have a positive point differential. They're 1 and 2, is still plus 4 uh, on the point scale. So it's interesting how that's turned out. But um,
Well,
yeah,
and also see that Baltimore scored the most points of any team in the NFL and are 1-2 on the season, right? So,
Baltimore scored 8 more points than the Colts and the Lions have so far. Yeah, and the Chiefs have scored about half the number of points as Baltimore. But they've also given up about half as many points as Baltimore's given up. So um, yeah, the Chiefs are looking okay. I think, but yeah, that game against Baltimore is going to be very important for them to try to get the division, try to come back in that race a little, especially if it seems like the Chargers are probably going to win against the Giants on the road. And but yeah, and also because the AFC North is pretty weak, even though the Bengals are 2-1, they're without Burrow. Who knows what the Steelers are going to do? The Browns are fairly weak, so even though they won against the Packers, so it seems like the Ravens, even if they dig themselves into 1-3 hole, can still come out of that division. But the Chiefs, I'm not sure if they're 1-3, and the Chargers are 4-0 with a win in hand over the Chiefs already. Uh, what will happen there? So it's an important game, I think, next week. But yeah, it's interesting. So if you had to pick a team that looks the best in each conference so far, would you pick one of the 3-0 teams, or would you pick a different team?
I think right now, I think probably stick with the Chargers as long as they stay healthy enough. No, but yeah, I think with the NFC or in the AFC anyway, the NFC though, I don't. I mean, San Francisco doesn't look like they're in a good position at all. I think what now Bones is going to be out for a significant amount of time on the
Yeah.
defensive side,
Yeah, Bosa's
and
ACL. He's going to be out the whole season.
yeah, so I mean, it's hard to predict that they're going to be okay really on the season. They've been winning games, but they've been fairly close and with backups too. So I don't know that you'd be that confident in the 3-0 49ers, but and the Eagles have looked a little shaky too, but they're still 3-0. So, yeah. I think yeah, as of right now, as a 3-0 team, I would take the Chargers as being
The the most
in the
impressive
best
team of the year.
position.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I think you could pick the Bills. Uh, the Eagles have won
I'm
in some.
never going to pick the Bills, Mike, because they get too much from the league. So
In some ways, it seems the most impressive teams in the NFC are the 2-1 Packers and the 2-1 Lions. But they've each lost a game, and the Lions
yeah,
lost to the Packers. So I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know if either of those teams can beat the Eagles. I think the Eagles are still the class of the NFC, even though they aren't playing particularly well. They're still winning games. It's a little bit like the Chiefs were last year. They aren't playing particularly well, but they're still winning all their games. So, and that tush push play hasn't been outlawed yet, and still a guaranteed 4th and 1. Conversion. So
did
they
you
have
hear that weird? Did you hear that like weird like league proclamation that was made like during the week about basically saying to telling the officials to call false start on that play?
yeah.
Does that seem odd to you? They would say to do that,
Well, then they
not to
didn't call.
like not allow them to line up illegally, but to like just to call false starts on it. Doesn't that seem like even more bizarre than
I don't know. They didn't call
what
the
they
false
should
start.
do?
There was a false start. One of their tush pushes they didn't call, and then they did call a false start on tush push from New Orleans. So they called them on the non-Eagles teams. So it's a little bit like
Um,
when that Jawan Taylor they had him line. They only called him basically for lining up offsides or false starting, where they didn't call Lane Johnson on the Eagles or any of those other players that do the same
right.
thing. But it's
Doing identically the same issue, right?
like,
Yes.
yeah. So maybe it seems like the Eagles are getting the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I still think they're probably uh the best team top to bottom in the NFC right now. But yeah, the Lions. Yeah, the Vikings are an interesting case too. They're 2-1, but they also don't have they have Carson Wentz, but with Wentz, uh, and they didn't have a great quarterback to begin with J.J. McCarthy, I don't think this year. So I don't know if Wentz is gonna be that much of a downgrade, but they're another one of those teams maybe that would succeed in spite of the quarterback play. Um,
They put up what 48 points this week.
yeah, they had like two or three defensive touchdowns, basically.
Multiple defensive touchdowns. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe just
Washington.
to wrap up though from our picks, then what I was 1-2 this week, you were 2-1. So you're 4-5 on the season, 1, 2, and 7.
Yes,
But
on the big
the
board.
board though, which maybe some of these other games are maybe important too, like you were about to say.
Yeah, on the
Something
big
about
board, we were each a little bit under this week. We each lost about $145, but you lost slightly fewer. You lost about $5 less than I lost this week. So right now, you are still in the lead on the season. You've lost $540. I've lost $805. We each are losing, but one or two good weeks could put us over back into the black, I think. So we'll see how it goes. But it's one of those things as well where you probably shouldn't bet on every game. Um, uh, we did a little bit better this week than last week for sure, but
me.
At
Yeah,
least I
as a collective, we did considerably
at
better.
least I did a little better. I did a lot better this week than I did last week. Last week was my by far my worst week. You had a pretty good week last week.
Yeah, I was down 243. That's about $100 better this week than last week.
Yeah, I lost how much? I lost over 1,000 last week, so that's I feel pretty good about this week.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
much better week.
yeah, I won almost $400 the first week, so you've been consistently
Yes,
losing a little bit, but this was technically your best week. Uh,
yes.
you
It's
lost,
trending towards neutral.
yeah,
Doesn't sound all that great, but it's okay.
yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
see how
so
that goes. Speaking of trending towards neutral, should we talk about the Royals briefly? And
sure.
they were eliminated today in the playoffs. The best the Royals can finish is 84 and 78. Um, they're 78 and 78 right now, playing a game against the Angels where they were up 2-0 the last time I saw. Um, let's see what it is now. It's still up 2-0 at the end of the fourth inning. If they win that game, they'll be 79 and 78, but still not good enough to make the playoffs because both the uh, the Guardians and the Tigers in the AL Central each have 85 wins, so that's more than the Royals could have. And I believe all the other wild card teams or contenders also have at least 85 wins in the bank. So the Royals can only finish close to the wild card and not actually get it this season. So they're out of the playoffs. Um, they still finished with a winning record this year, but they're out of the playoffs. What do you think of the Royals' chances? Um, did they have that? What happened? Why did they not make the playoffs this year? What went wrong for the Royals, Dr. Scaff?
Well, it's just the same mistakes being made before the games even start, really, is what it seems to boil down to. A lot of times with lineups and more recently, it's been sort of like starting pitchers maybe being rushed back from injuries um, but also just an enormous number of injuries in the pitching staff in the last like 2 months has really derailed their chances at the season, which was sort of overcoming some of those managerial or organizational decisions that were being made before when they're pitching lights out and only giving up 1, 2 runs a game. Then it's much easier to overcome some of these like simple decisions. I did want to draw attention to one game that happened in the last week, Mike, that I was it sort of highlights some of the issues that the Royals have had over the season, though. In one game against Toronto, where they were actually facing one of their nemesis in Max Scherzer, but
Mm,
they managed to put up 20 runs in the game. One of the main differences in that game was that they mixed up their lineup and they actually put Carter Jensen in the leadoff spot, which sort of like shuffled the lineup considerably from what they had been doing. And they managed to score 20 runs in that game. Since then, they have not gone back to anything like that lineup again, and they've gone back to scoring 3 to 4 runs a game. So like I've just never understood how if you see that kind of success with one particular lineup, how can you not go back to it to see
yeah,
if it repeat the success? And they will not do that. That's kind of a major issue when you're trying to like figure out what's works and what doesn't work with your team. And they will not look at past performance when it comes to like the structure of the lineup, and they just keep setting lineups that are not good
yeah,
repeatedly,
yeah.
regardless of how much success they've seen from any of them.
Yeah, that was a trouble. That was a problem. I think also the in the first half of the season their starting pitching was really good, but then they got some injuries and things like that, so they couldn't really hold off because their offense wasn't good enough to carry them all the way to the second half of the season. But There's a bright spot tonight. Cole Ragans looks like he's back into his old form. He's thrown 4 innings. He has 7 strikeouts, only 1 walk, 1 hit allowed through 4 innings. So maybe these last two, maybe he'll have this start and maybe one more start before the end of the season. Maybe he can kind of get back into 2024 Cole Reagan, 2023, 2024 Cole Reagan's form. So maybe that's some good news going into next year because he was their best pitcher and he either A didn't pitch well or B didn't pitch at all most of the season. So
Right.
that was a big part of why the Royals didn't do so well down the stretch. Um, they did find some, uh, they did find a few bright spots in the pitching. I think they picked up some good, interesting prospects in the pitching
Like,
half of things. So,
yeah,
uh,
Noah Kuhn was an absolute gem of a
yeah,
find, though. That was pretty unexpected to see, him emerge.
yeah.
Seeming has to be part of the rotation next season. He's like forced the hand of the organization to make him a starter with how well he's played this season.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if will Walker be back next year.
I think he's got one more year on his contract, and I think
Lugo's been re-signed, so maybe the con-
yeah,
maybe the rotation, if they can stay healthy, will be able to get the Royals far enough into the playoffs again next year. But yeah, so
yeah,
we're into the we're into the wait till next year kind of phase of the season at this point. Um,
yeah.
So unfortunately, they didn't make it. Although they're at least competitive, which is good. It's been 2 years of competitive baseball at least in a row. Um,
Mhm.
so we have that to look forward to. You have maybe we don't need to do our Major League Baseball playoff preview just yet, but um,
I did have one more point I was going to make though, real quick though, about that Royals 20-1 victory over Toronto. With the nuisance that the game was on Apple TV. So people that in the Kansas City area who've been paying for the FanDuel Sports Network, specifically to be able to watch Royals games, didn't even get to see that
oh
one
no,
bright spot win of the last several months where they actually scored a bunch of runs. Like we didn't get to even watch it. Like it was that was really annoying in itself. They finally did something. They beat their old nemesis, team we don't really care for. They scored a bunch of runs, and it wasn't on the network that we pay for specifically to watch Royals games.
that's too bad. I don't know if it was
That's
on.
very frustrating.
I have MLB TV, and it might not have even been on MLB TV either. So
I think it was
I
an exclusive for Apple TV for whatever reason that game was, and the Royals actually managed.
yeah.
It's frustrating.
Frustrating
Yes.
indeed. Um, but at least they scored 21. They almost made up. I guess they're down again in a little bit in run differential. To only I think they're -2, but they might be up actually +1 now because they're up 3-0 this game. So, but they're interestingly enough, Cleveland is still a negative run differential, and they're challenging for the division against. Detroit, who has lost several games in a row, and Cleveland has won 11 out of their last 12 or something like that. So they've gone on a real tear. So who knows if Cleveland or Detroit, both of those teams now are going to make the playoffs, most likely. Although one could drop out. It could be Houston could take one of the wild card spots away from Cleveland or Detroit, whichever one team doesn't end up winning the division. Um, so it'll be interesting to see the final stretch for those teams.
Yeah, and Boston's hanging right around the cutoff line too. So there's four teams like vying for
Three
three
spots.
teams vying for like maybe two spots. Yeah, three or four teams maybe in the mix for that spot. Yeah, yeah. With the division still up for grabs, then there are two spots there, I suppose, for
Yeah, right now, at least according to MLB's playoff odds, the Red Sox, so the Yankees and the Blue Jays are in. The Mariners are 99.9% playoff probability to be in. Uh, and then we have the Red Sox at 93.7% likelihood. the Guardians 73.8, the Detroit Tigers 73.4, and then the Astros at 59.1. So but all those teams are more likely than not to get into the playoffs, but one of those teams will not get in. Um,
Did not make it.
yeah, it's kind of interesting that so each one, all of those teams have positive odds to make it in the playoffs, but one of those teams will not make it.
Yes. There's,
And the
yeah, so
Padres,
what
of course, they made the play. Did you see the Did you see whose hit led the Padres into the playoffs this year?
I did see Freddie Fermin had a big hit, but
A walk-off hit to lead the
yeah,
Padres into the playoffs. Yeah,
yeah. One of those things that the trade did is well enough for uh for for the Padres. They should be happy with that. The Royals should, I assume, be happy with the move too, because Hinton has played pretty well. Uh, Once Fermin was sort of moved out of the way for
hmm
Jensen, and they picked up a couple of seemingly decent starting pitching options too. So although I think they're both injured right now, so
yeah,
uh,
problem.
maybe Fermin has probably won the trade for Padres in the short term.
Yeah, this seems like it's been a good trade for both teams. So yeah,
Yeah,
maybe Firmino's one in the short term because then they made the playoffs. But um, yeah,
yeah.
well, um, should
Well,
we?
by next week, we should have a pretty good idea as to what the playoff picture looks like, but it probably won't be quite finalized yet. I assume. So, 6 to 7 games to go.
Yeah.
So, right. Yeah.
Yes. We should, yeah, we might know next week. 6 games for the Royals, a few other, yeah. It might come out of the last game of the season in the
Yeah.
AL.
For next week we may have a playoff preview for baseball,
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but it won't be involving the Royals.
no, um, unfortunately.
No,
But the Chiefs have not been eliminated from the playoff yet. But we talked about how Week 4 against the Ravens is going to be a big game because both of those teams are 1-2, and neither one probably wants to fall down to 1-3. Um, Especially not the Chiefs, as we mentioned, with Cleveland with the Chargers doing so well in the division. So, what do the Chiefs are going in as 2.5 point underdogs at home against the Ravens, despite the Ravens losing last night to Detroit, coming off a short week, going on the road to Kansas City. Do you think that one of your bets this week, Dr. Scaff? Would you bet on the Chiefs plus 2.5 at home against the Ravens?
I will be picking the Chiefs. It's not one of my locks of the week anyway, but yeah, I think with Baltimore has some like weird sort of stats that they sort of trend towards crumpling in big games, and it seems like another one of those that was set up for that same kind of scenario where it's a tough team that they have the chance to beat, and they haven't in recent years, especially with the Chiefs, like last year, having a touchdown taken off the board by Poe being close enough to the line that they overturned the fall on a replay. So, stuff like that just seems to happen in these games, specifically to Baltimore. So, I think I like the Chiefs odds because of that kind of stuff. But the Chiefs have to be putting some of these things together, right? And
Yeah.
from the first couple of games, and maybe they can correct some mistakes. And it seems
Yeah.
like they can hang on with just about anybody. So if they can force enough mistakes, then they can pull out the win late against the Ravens. I can see them
Yeah.
win. You think? How do you think it's going to go? Do you think it's going to be a close game or a shootout or what? You tend to pick unders in
I
games,
do
and
tend to pick unders. I'd say it's going to be another game, maybe a reenactment of the AFC Championship game a couple years ago. 17-7 Chiefs. Something I think it'll be low scoring. I don't know if it'll be that low scoring, but I think it'll be lowish. I'm gonna pick it under. But yeah, the Chiefs have a brutal schedule coming up.
It
Uh,
doesn't stop.
yeah, so it doesn't. So they have the Ravens, then at the Jaguars, who are playing pretty well on Monday night. Home against the Lions on Sunday night. Home against the Raiders, who have been okay. The Commanders have been good, so that's another Monday night game. At the Bills, then at the Broncos, and then home against the Colts before going to the Cowboys, which is on Thanksgiving. So they they're playing lots of winning teams with winning records and lots of very I think teams that were supposed to be very good or playoff teams from last year. So the Chiefs need to kind of survive their early gauntlet before the end, where they the rest of their schedule isn't looking too easy either. But it's yeah, these early stretches are tough, and yeah, they'll get a little bit of a breather a couple of times with some home. They get three home games in a row: the Lions, the Raiders, and the Commanders. But then they go to the Bills and the Broncos. So it's a tough schedule. So if they can sort of be by the end of 5-3 through 8, that would be amazing. I think at this point we would take that for the Chiefs. Um,
Yeah.
and so to get to that, you probably would not want to lose to the Ravens and have to. Um, so
Well, I think you were yeah talking about that earlier, where the Ravens, if the Ravens are 1-3, it should be much easier for them to overcome that in their division, especially with Burrow out. The Chiefs will have you know luck anyway in their favor for trying to dig out of a hole if the Chargers are 3 games up and a tiebreak, which you definitely don't want to be. So yeah, so right, the Chiefs definitely don't want to go down into that hole. But yeah, it's not so
uh,
bad if Baltimore gets into that similar hole, but it's not the same kind of hole, right?
yeah, um, it's not the division, especially with a Burrowless Bengals, really kind of changes that division. And then I mean, the Steelers have a ceiling, I think, and then the Browns are just the Browns. So um, yeah, you feel better about your chances if you're a Raven, if you're 1-3. Although you might question what are the Ravens doing if they're 1-3? Are they can they beat if they can't beat the Chiefs now? When are they going to be able to beat the Chiefs? Because this is probably the weakest the Chiefs have been for a while. You would think, at least from an outsider's perspective. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah. Uh,
You've had a tendency this season so far to pick division games. Have you chosen the Chiefs over the Raiders as one of your locks of the week this week?
the Chiefs over the Ravens? No, I haven't. I did not choose them as one of my locks of the week. I will pick them on the big board. I will pick the under probably as well. I think I'll do all unders again. But no, I did not pick this game. But I do think the Chiefs will. I'm gonna pick them to win because I'm a homer. So
Yeah.
I'll do that. But yeah, it was not one of my locks of the week. My first lock of the week was actually another divisional game, and this is the uh, team. This is the Raiders playing against the suddenly 1-2 Chicago Bears. So the Raiders are 1-2. The Bears are 1-2. The Bears, of course, beat the Dallas Cowboys, and they're going into uh, Las Vegas as 1.5 point underdogs. I think they had a good game against the Cowboys. I think the Raiders at home are going to be able to take them. Um, and so I think there are probably a lot of Chicago fans at the game, but I still think the Raiders are going to take that game and win it outright. So they also have a point to play. They're 1.5 points, so they win the game basically, unless they only win by 1 point. It'll be on.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be on the right side of that. So I basically it's a money line kind of pick, and so I think the Raiders are going to win against Chicago at home. Yeah, I picked the late. I picked yeah, a late game there. Uh, how about your first lock of the week? So that was my first lock of the week. Is the Raiders -1.5 at home against the Bears?
I'm still not sure how to pick either of those teams yet. Like I tend to have like kind of a recency bias, which doesn't usually work all that well. But neither team I have quite figured out yet. I don't think so. I don't. That'll be one I won't decide on until like the very last for the big board. Uh, but because I really don't know what to do with them, especially the Bears. The Bears look so weird in the first couple of weeks, and then I don't know how they managed to play so well last week. But maybe that's just because the Cowboys are that bad, I guess. Perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh, but maybe going on to that, maybe I do think it is the Cowboys that are just not bad. Because my first pick of the week, I'm going to be picking against the Cowboys. I've got Green Bay at -6.5, traveling to Dallas on the Sunday night game this week. And yeah, so I kind of expect Green Bay to bounce back from their loss to the Browns, which doesn't even make sense either to me. So yeah, I see Green Bay bouncing back. I see Dallas continuing to be not very good defensively. It seems like at least a touchdown game difference from what I'm expecting. So I've got Green Bay -6.5.
Read my mind 6.5. Yeah, we have Micah Parsons coming back to Dallas, and yeah,
The storyline.
yeah, yeah. So I can see that happening. In Green Bay, they had that loss to Cleveland, wanting to rebound. Uh, yeah, I could see Green Bay coming in very hungry. Again, if you think of the playoffs a couple of years ago, Green Bay won that game big against Dallas
Mm.
when they made it to the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago. So yeah, that could be. Um, I could see that as a result. I don't know if I picked that game just yet, but yeah, I'm leaning. I think Green Bay at this point. So yeah, you have
There are a bunch of like really big spreads this week, and this is one of the lower side of the big
oh the
spreads.
big
So
spread. Yeah, a big road spread
yeah,
too. Yeah.
only
Uh,
6.5 minutes in the game.
Yeah, I didn't pick any big spreads. I did pick another spread game, and that was is another game on the West Coast. Uh, Jacksonville at San Francisco. San Francisco is favored by 3.5 at home against Jacksonville. We talked about San Francisco's 3-0, but they're 3-0 without now Brock Purdy, probably not going to play next week, and Nick Bosa is. Or is it Joey? Nick Bosa. I get which one. I get them confused which one's which.
Yeah,
I think it's
yes,
Nick Bosa.
yeah. Joey was in with
It's,
the Chargers, and now he's
Chargers.
in.
Yeah, Nick.
Uh, where is he now?
Where's Joey now? I thought he still with the. I think he still is with the Chargers. No, he's with the Bills. He's with the Bills now.
Buffalo. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Like
He's with-
none of those sound right. It's like it doesn't sound quite right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Nick Bosa is with the 49ers. At least sitting on the bench now for the 49ers. And McCaffrey's been dinged up a little bit as usual. So. Yeah, and I 3.5 is that's the hook as they call it. Makes me think that again, Jacksonville at least can keep it close. I think they can even win outright in San Francisco with the 49ers being kind of as weak as they are right now. So they're a week 3-0, I think. Just barely gutting out victories against lesser competition. And I don't think Jacksonville's a great team, but I think they can keep it close in San Francisco. So maybe even take the win. So the 3.5. If it were only 2.5, maybe I wouldn't have picked that as a lock of the week. But 3.5, I like those 3 points that I could sneak in under. So I'm doing Jacksonville plus 3.5 at San Francisco as my second lock of the week.
Now, when you say you're betting on Trevor Lawrence, or are you betting against your favorite quarterback who's
Michael,
not mentioned
I'm betting against his former backup, Michael McCorkle Mac Jones. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to prove while he was the starter and Mac Jones was the backup last year in Jacksonville. I didn't even think about that matchup when I made that bet, but I should have.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe he knows the offense, so maybe he'll tip off the 49ers coaching staff to some insights on how their offense works from inside.
And Mac Jones, of course, is from Jacksonville, Florida. Remember that? I think we talked about that before. Michael
So
McCorkle, Mac Jones.
I'm just surprised you got through your pick without mentioning Mac Jones, though, Mike.
Yeah,
Who
well,
is 2-0. Yeah,
2-0 as a starter.
he's never lost. He's never going to lose. Is that not? You're not going with it that way?
Yes, 2-0 as a starter. He has four touchdowns, one interception, 98.1 quarterback rating so far. So it's his high. Better even than his Pro Bowl year of his rookie year in 2021. So we'll see what happens with Mike McCorkle. Uh, but yeah, I like Jacksonville's chances to keep it close at least. And then I think the 49ers are teetering on the brink at this point with injuries. So um, this might be the game that breaks them.
Yeah. And they do seem, less dynamic on offense, especially if McCaffrey isn't 100%, which he never seems to be 100%. They don't quite have that same gadget sort of offense that they had in the past. So yeah, maybe they're not quite as dynamic as they had been.
Yeah, yeah. Juwan Jennings has been out as well. So uh, and they don't have Debo Samuel back, so I think they're looking weaker at wide receiver. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's talking about injury crisis in San Francisco. So yeah,
Yeah.
I like that pick a little bit. Just mainly as a bet against San Francisco, just being able to keep things together. And they kind of cobbled together three impressive wins so far, but maybe they are, even if they eke out a win, I don't know if they'll win by more than a field goal.
Well, last week they eked out a win and won by a single point, so that would still be fine with this pick that you gave,
Yeah,
right? So you'd be okay with that.
I would be okay with that.
No. So my second pick, I'm going to an over under pick on the Minnesota Pittsburgh game, which is taking place in the UK, isn't it?
It's in
So
Dublin, Ireland.
in Dublin. Yes. Okay. That's the game that's in Dublin. So yeah, 8:30 Central start. Minnesota technically at Pittsburgh. You over under numbers only 40 and a half for this game. I think a lot of times like these international games, I think they tend to be a little bit higher scoring. I think they want to put on a show when they have these international audiences. So Minnesota put up 48 last week. Pittsburgh's defense doesn't seem to be all that good. Uh, I could see this game being a little bit higher scoring. So I'm going to take the over on this 40 and a half points in that game.
Well, we do have backup quarterback Carson Wentz as the starter, and we also
Yep.
have a low scoring game that Pittsburgh's coming off of last week. There was only 35 total points. So, and a lot of the points that the Vikings scored last week were defensive touchdowns. So it could
Yeah.
be lower scoring than we think, but that is a low number. So I'm not surprised that you're going over. I will probably just go under because I have a blanket under that I like to keep, I think, this week. But we'll see how it goes this week for me on the unders. But um,
Sportsbook did a much better job last week with the over-unders. They were 8-8.
8-8.
So
I was 8-8 on the over-unders last week. You were 9-7 on the over-unders in your picking each one individually. So you did a little bit better than just the average over-under. So, but I'm gonna still try all under and see how I do, and go with that. So I'm not gonna go along with you, but I don't think that's a bad pick. Uh, Going with the over because it's still such a low number.
well,
Um,
it's one of two options. It can either go under or it can go over. So,
yeah, it won't be able to be it won't be able to be even on this one. We can't no push. No half points in football. Uh, I'm also going with an over-under as my third lock of the week. This is the New Orleans at Buffalo game, where New Orleans is a 16 and a half point underdog going into Orchard Park. But I'm not making a bet on the spread. I'm making a bet on the over/under. The over/under is 48 and a half. I was bitten last week with the over/under just barely that the Bills allowed the Dolphins to score 21 points. I think the Bills will score about as many points against New Orleans as they scored against Miami. I don't think New Orleans has an offense as good as Miami's offense. They don't have Tyreek Hill. They don't have Jalen Waddle. They don't have even Tua Tagovailoa on their offense. They don't have they have good running back with Kamara, just like Achane is a pretty good running back, but I don't think the Saints will score very many points. I think they'll also have maybe a little better defense than what Miami has. So I see it maybe a game of 28-7 or something like that. Buffalo winning that game. So I'm thinking under 48 and a half with the Saints Bills. My third lock of the week.
Yeah, that's when I'll probably end up joining you there on the big board. It won't be one of my lots of the week, uh, but yeah, I can't imagine both of those teams scoring a lot of points. It seems like yeah, the Bills are likely to score quite a few points, but I can't see New Orleans also scoring a lot of points in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. How about your third
Yeah.
lock of the week, Dr. Scaff?
My third lock, I'm going to go with another over actually in the Philly Tampa game. It seems like
Final
Philly.
3-0 teams.
Yes, yes, but yeah, both of these teams like seem like they managed to score points late. The over/under number isn't crazy high, and it's 44 and a half. So I could see something like that, being, maybe around 20-20, like in the fourth quarter, but I think they'll probably push it well over by the end of the fourth. So, uh, it seems like, yeah, Baker Mayfield, manages to like take a drive late for points, and Philly has a tendency to score on some crazy play here or there to like, end up pushing uh spreads, in their favor, but also like push the over last week too. So that I see this one being a little bit higher scoring game. So 44 and a half doesn't seem crazy as the spread, as the over-under number. So that'll be my third pick of the week. Philly at Tampa over 44 and a half.
Yeah, 44 and a half. That's Uh, not a huge number. I could see it going over, but I'm also going to pick the under on that one. Philadelphia hasn't scored a lot of points. Most of their games, they've been fairly low scoring. I think Tampa's defense is still pretty good, but yeah, I can see that. I could see it going over, but I'm gonna pick under as well. But because of my other lock, because of my other unders this week, so that's part of my block under rather than an individual, just individually decided under, which maybe is a foolish move, but that's what I'm gonna go under on all of them just to so I don't have to. The idea is I don't have to think about these spreads as much if I can just go all under. That can isolate my brain to get the money line and the spread picks a little bit better. Although sometimes it works better than other times. Um,
Like the tech giants, Titans always sort of wear like the black turtleneck shirt. It's like, so like their closet is just
yeah.
all black turtleneck shirts. They've taken that like decision making out of their daily routine. Yes, it frees up their minds to work on other projects, right? They're not
Yes.
worrying about, you can wear the same thing. They can wear the same thing every day. So
I've taken the Steve Jobs approach.
and applied it sports betting.
Sports betting. Yes. So, any other games that you are interested in looking at this week that we haven't bet on? There
Well,
aren't.
obviously, we're going to be watching the Baltimore Kansas City game.
Mhm.
Uh, but otherwise, I don't know. I mean, there's a Thursday night division matchup. Seattle and Arizona, both teams have been playing pretty well so far this season. But it's a Thursday night game, so I don't know how much interest you would have in that one. But it has a potential for being a pretty decent game, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm also looking at Indiana, a game that turns out to be a pretty good game that you wouldn't think going into the year. Indianapolis at the Rams would be an interesting game. Then see if Indianapolis is for real, being able to win at the Rams. If they be able to, if Daniel Jones can keep up his tremendous start where he's looking just like Josh Allen, basically throwing for a lot of touchdowns, running well as well. So that'll be an interesting game on the so against the Rams. So the Rams are favored by 3.5, only 3.5 points because of the surprising Colts this year. So that'll be interesting to watch. A lot of yeah, there aren't a ton of great games. We've discussed a lot of them. There's some ones that are there's a lot of big spreads as we mentioned. 16.5 points New Orleans Buffalo, 8.5 Cleveland at Detroit, 7.5 Tennessee at Houston, 6.5 Chargers at the Giants, Cowboys Green Bay 6.5 as well. So some big, and then the Cincinnati at Denver 7.5 point spread. So on Monday night, so a lot of big spreads. So maybe some lopsided games, but maybe they'll turn out to be close. Who knows? If it's hard to pick some of those sometimes. So I'm not looking forward to making all my picks because I think that'll be difficult as it usually is.
Yeah,
But hopefully my locks of the week come through.
you do have a tendency to like to pick on the underdog side of the wide spreads, though. So like the
Yeah.
Buffalo Orleans 16.5, that's a lot.
That is a lot of points. I was thinking maybe I would take New Orleans, but I don't know if I will or not. New Orleans,
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't. Buffalo likes to run up the score. Um,
yeah,
yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'll have to think about it. I'll see. I'll see if the line moves in any direction between now and Saturday or Sunday when I make my picks. So we'll see. We'll see what happens at that point. But I still like the under uh, on that one. So I at least I have a one bet that I feel a little bit comfortable with. I do like the Bills on the money line. I'll pick that, but I don't know.
sure. Although
The
you can make your week if you take New Orleans and they win. So that's
Yeah,
900. Yeah,
I- if it were in New Orleans, maybe I would think about that as a possibility. But if it's in Buffalo, I don't know how much chance New Orleans has.
you wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
It's another double Monday night game. Mike, are you looking forward to either of those games? We watch one in its completion, or do the split screen and watch them both at the same time?
Uh,
They're offset by like 45 minutes, so they
Jets,
overlap.
Miami, I'm not looking forward to. I guess Cincinnati, I want to
Yeah,
see Denver, how well they play against Cincinnati. See if Denver can score a lot of points against Cincinnati. I don't know. I don't. Neither of those games is terribly appealing though right now. If Burrow had been playing Cincinnati, Denver would be a pretty good game.
yeah.
Browning, not as great, but he's still a decent quarterback, I think. Um, and I really want to see Bo Nix go down. So um, yeah. And then the Jets, it'd be Tyrod Taylor probably, unless Fields comes back
Yeah.
um, against Tua. Yeah, a divisional matchup. Those are always, I guess, somewhat exciting to watch. But yeah, neither of those games I'm really looking forward to. Um,
Not even really looking forward to just picking them. I don't, right? Because it's
no,
like they're like not straightforward.
no. I'm
Clear.
I'm
Yeah.
leaning right now. I'd say I'm leaning toward the home teams in both of those games, but
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll end up doing.
Well, on the money lines probably, but yeah, that spread Denver minus 7.5. That's
That's a
outside
lot.
your typical comfort.
It is
So
outside my comfort zone, so I might go with Cincinnati on the spread, but yeah, Denver money line pretty sure. Um, yeah, that's a lot of points. If it were 6.5, maybe I wouldn't mind picking Denver, but if it's 7.5, yeah, Denver doesn't score a lot of points either. So at least so far this year, they haven't scored a lot of points.
yeah.
Let's see how many points they've scored actually. They scored more than the Chiefs have probably because they played the Colts. They scored a lot of points against the Colts. Um,
Well, they beat Tennessee 20-12 in week one. And then
Yeah, they scored 68 points. The Chiefs have scored 60 points.
we lost, yeah, 29-28 to Indy week 2.
Yeah, their point differential like the Chiefs is +4.
So then what? Oh, they lost by a field goal right to the Chargers last weekend.
Chargers
So
23-20. Yeah.
they're not scoring a ton of points. They're like in the low 20s, I guess, for their average,
Yeah.
low to mid 20s. Yeah, not not a huge number.
Not a huge number, so we'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting week to watch. We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll talk more about it next week. We'll talk about when we recap week 4. We'll preview week 5. Next week's Morning Trek Power Hour. We'll also have a baseball playoff preview possibly as well next week. Well, we'll see. We'll at least have the divisions, probably. I think probably when's the last game of the season? Is it?
It's going to be right around there. Right? There's 6 games left, so it's probably going to
I think it's on the
be.
30th. I think maybe the last games of
Will
the
it end
season.
on Sunday or will it end on? Will it? Does it hang over? Again? That seems odd for it to like not end on a weekend series, right? Like, will they go over the
Yeah.
weekend? It seems like they'd have to stop it before. Mhm.
Yeah, Sunday, September 28th is the last day of the
Be the
season.
last day, right? So we should be able to have our all of our playoff picture decided.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the wild card games are would be on our next scheduled recording for.
Yes.
So yes, we better have our playoffs preview because it will be starting that night.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
or it will already have started, I guess. Really, right? Because
yeah, I
it'll
guess
be
we by the time we preview some of the early afternoon games will have played already.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they usually play
Sunday.
like a noon or at least a 1 or 2 p.m. game, right? So
Yeah, they play some early games and some 4 o'clock games, things like that. So we'll
yeah,
have that to as fodder for our preview. So we'll be able to kind of say, oh, is the team that won the first game going to win the
yeah.
series? Or but at
Preview
least
in progress, basically.
we have that to look forward to next week, and we'll also preview week 5 of the NFL season, plus anything else that strikes our fancy between. Uh, now and then. So we have all that to look forward to. Should we wrap up this week of Morning Trek Power Hour,
Let's
Dr.
do it.
Scaff? As always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Morning Trek Power Hour. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, available on YouTube, and or our podcast, available on any podcast delivery platform that you might use, uh, most likely anyway. At least if you're listening to us on podcast now, you're able to listen to us going forward. Um, so we
You've
are
already found.
You've already found us. Yeah, if you're listening to us now, you've already found us. So we don't why do we even say all this stuff? Because I guess we just want you to subscribe rather than have to find us each and every week.
Yeah.
So you get these broadcasts automatically or automagically, as the Walt Disney Company once put it, uh, uh, to your feed, your inbox, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we have that. You'll have that going for you if you subscribe or like us, and we will be back next week with another exciting, action-packed episode, previewing NFL Week 5, reviewing NFL Week 4, and previewing the Major League Baseball playoffs. So uh, until next time, Dr. Scaff and I wish you a good day.